At that point, I decided there was no help for me because as I was put into inpatient, my family came and got my younger boys. And so I found myself in the worst part of my addiction. My addiction moved on to the opiates. It was the answer to everything. It really was my solution, and it did not work. And I remember I packed my backpack at that treatment center, and I set out, and the guilt and shame, I didn't allow my family to even know where I was for about 7 years.
Addiction is a chronic disease. In the past, we looked at addiction and viewed it as character failure, moral failure. By now, we know it's incorrect. Addiction is a chronic disease comparable in its model to hypertension or diabetes, and we should treat it accordingly. I'm Alexandra Zgierska. I'm a family medicine and addiction medicine physician and a faculty member at the University of Wisconsin in Madison.
There was an article published in the Journal of the American Medical Association in 2000 that looked at addiction as a chronic disease and compared it to diabetes, hypertension, and other well-known chronic medical diseases. The take-home message is that addiction is a chronic disease, sort of duh, it's a chronic disease. So this isn't a disease about drugs. This is a disease about brains and how the brain of the person with addiction is different than the brain of the person without addiction. And it's a really complex brain disease that involves motivation, impulse control, you're not yourself, and you don't make the decisions that you would have made before your disease became active. My name is Mike Miller. I'm an addiction medicine physician. I've been the president of the American Society of Addiction Medicine, and I teach in the Addiction Medicine Fellowship Program at the University of Wisconsin School of Medicine and Public Health in Madison.
As physicians, we're trained to want to help people. And as soon as we realize that people want that help, it's really hard to deny it to them. We're there for them, right? That's why we went into medicine. My name is Dr. Michael Replinger. I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Emergency Medicine at the University of Wisconsin. I'm an emergency physician by training and a prescriber of buprenorphine. And now, with all of the public acknowledgement of this being a true epidemic, for the first time in our history, we've had a decrease in the life expectancy of the average U.S. citizen. How crazy is that, and why is that? Opioid overdoses. Opioid overdoses are killing 20 and 30-somethings. It's lowering life expectancy. Hello, we've got a problem.
But the diminished recognition is a psychological adaptation. And the person with addiction is really the last to know because they tell themselves it's not that bad. I can handle it. It's not that big of a deal. And everybody around them goes, it's a really big deal and you're not handling it.
The science of addiction shows that addiction has strong genetic background, so it's not true that people simply sign up and choose to have addiction. This is not by choice.
My freshman year of high school, I ended up having a knee surgery from a football accident. I was prescribed OxyContin, and that's where I kind of fell in love with opiates, and everything went downhill from there.
When I was 17, I ruptured my ACL, which led to a prescription of opiates. Very strong opiates, lots of narcotic prescriptions. I broke my ankle, more narcotics, had a hysterectomy, a cyst remove, just lots and lots of surgeries from the age of 17 until the age of 33.
I started using when I was 12 years old, 11, 12 years old, and I was experimenting with alcohol and a little marijuana, and that escalated through the years, and by the time I was 17, I was fully addicted.
By the time I was 16 years old, I was doing heroin and crack cocaine. By 17, I was IVing it, and by 18, I was in full-blown addiction.
Unfortunately, I ran into a friend from way back before I moved away. Hadn't seen him in 10 years, and he goes, "You should try this." And I was like, no, I'll die. But I did. And that's when the battle began, on and off for 2 years with heroin.
I've got arrested hundreds of times. I've been in so many different, I can't remember most of it.
I actually did end up flatlining and ended up in the hospital, had some out-of-body experiences, and By all medical means, I was supposed to be dead. Doctors didn't believe I was going to make it. I ended up in a coma and came out a few days later. My name is Quinton Endel. I am the program coordinator at Project Wiz Hope in Waukesha, Wisconsin. I also am a recovery coach.
My name is Mary Cordio. I work with Safe Communities of Dane County. I am a recovery coach and certified peer support specialist.
My name is Peter Renzel. I'm the executive director of Wiz Hope, and I'm a recovery coach trainer.
My name is Lana Hamilton. I am a woman in long-term recovery. I'm a Wisconsin certified peer specialist, and I work for Safe Communities.
Addiction affects all socioeconomic statuses, all races, all walks of life. It's not anything that's wrong with the person from a moral standpoint. It's their body, it's the biologics, it's the chemistry of their body that's causing this to happen. I'm Dr. Sarah Damewood. I'm an emergency physician at the University of Wisconsin Burby Walsh Department of Emergency Medicine. The difference is this uncontrollable urge and compulsion to do things that doesn't seem to make sense to other people to get the drug.
And it looks to somebody on the outside like you're making a choice. But in fact, you're driven and compelled to go back to this source of reward, just like a hungry person is drawn to food and a thirsty person is drawn to water.
In other words, the drug takes over and takes a person for a ride, hijacks the brain, the body, the whole life.
People with addiction have a brain that's been changed so that these external rewards like alcohol, nicotine, THC, opium, those become the major drivers in the person's life, and it becomes central. Drugs and other addictive behaviors work in the same place, and they change your motivational hierarchy so that you, instead of choosing natural rewards like a sunset, a painting, a music concert, being with your child or being with your partner, food, water, and sex, you choose cocaine, heroin, alcohol. You become hyper-responsive to conditioned cues and triggers. You become highly motivated to go right for your drug, and you sort of lose the ability to put on the brakes.
With appropriate treatment and recovery, the brain changes that might be associated with or responsible for addiction are normalizing. And this is very important to understand that addiction is treatable, not only on this behavioral level, but also on the truly organic brain level.